Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have for you here. Another victim falls to FTX. An FTX former CEO, SBF, plays the blame game. We got Squawk Box and Jim Cramer asking the question, what do we know about XRP? Oh, you're going to want all of this. Patrick McHenry on the FTX possible investigation. We're going to have David Schwartz, Kim.com. We got Australian bank Ripple XRP connection. We're going to talk about that. Ripple says cross-border is going to reach 156 trillion at the end of this year. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for exclusive content. Right now, we are looking at $862 billion market cap. We're off by 0.1%. Good afternoon, everybody. 16,600 plus for Bitcoin, Ethereum, 1,200 plus. And we see XRP is 37 cents, up 13.8% on the 7-day. I want to show you this. And look, obviously nothing we talk about is financial advice, ladies and gentlemen. But I wanted to share this from Dan here. And I don't know if this happens, but he's showing a chart here where gold has the potential to break out and get up at around above 3,500, 3,800 range, maybe even closer to chasing down 4,000. But I'll tell you something, I don't know if it does or not, okay? I don't know. But I've heard a lot of talk, and I watch what's going on in the economy. You guys know that Glint is my sponsor. I was a customer first, and I absolutely love what they offer. And it's physically allocated gold you can put on your account and get a MasterCard debit card and spend your gold like money. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm sharing this with you right now because I'm about to top off my Glint Pay card just in case that fella's right. I could tell you that. How about that? Link underneath the video, ladies and gentlemen. Just in, FTX CEO says Sam Bankman-Fried no longer has an ongoing role at the company and does not speak on their behalf. Well, about time on that one, but wait, it's not over. SBF apparently, reports from Mr. Wales say his girlfriend, he blames his ex-girlfriend and CEO of Alameda for the collapse of FTX. Here comes that number 9 buzz. Yeah, well, I tell you. This is the latest victim here, ladies and gentlemen. It's Temasek to write down its $275 million FTX investment to zero. Not funny. Oh, boy. Look, I tell you, this is probably going to upset you as much as it upset me, and I hope it doesn't, but it did me, I can tell you that. This is rich. A shameless attempt to pat themselves on the back with righteousness. An attempt to hang FTX collapse on all of crypto like Enron. The only question Jim Cramer is going to get right in this that you're about to hear here is he asked a question about XRP and what do we know about it?
I want to get down to the New York Stock Exchange. Jim Cramer joins us now. Jim, we can talk about some of these economic numbers. You maybe want to get your thoughts on what Barry's talking about. I also want to get your thoughts on what CZ said earlier this morning about the future of crypto. Where do you want to start?
First, man, I think Barry's closer to the situation than a lot of the people who work at the Federal Reserve, just in part because he's in the business every day. And it's immediate, not looking at last month or the month before. And I think that his projections are far more spot on. As far as your interview with CJ on crypto, I find the level of arrogance for people who think that crypto is good shocking. I have problems with the dollar, the same problems that Barry has in terms of the huge amount of debt. But there's clarity. And you know that there's debt, and you can easily switch to gold if you'd like, or some other asset, maybe real estate that can be better. But we can put up these currencies, and I question, well, what do we know about Solana? What do we know about XRP? And the answer is zero. And the reason why we know zero is because the government doesn't feel that it should be regulated, and we put them up. We could put up lots of We could have put up Enron. That was a very well traded stock.
Oh, did you hear what he just did? All of these are now Enron. They're all Enron now. You know, right now I am thinking of the inverse Jim Cramer, right? You know, I'm starting to wonder if this is the greatest bullish signal for crypto to ever be given, right? Because it seems like everything opposite of what Jim Cramer says happens. Unbelievable. Not financial advice.
So, I mean, I question why we put these up. I know that that's maybe seditious, but I question why we're not allowed to question any of these things.
What?
I think we are allowed to question these things, and I think at least, and I think on your broadcast and our broadcast, we've been questioning it repeatedly to the point where
you guys have been nonstop. You have been nonstop, and it's been great. I didn't mean it like that. I meant that they don't want you to question them. You were,
That's for sure.
I love this.
Now he's saying now the XRP Solanas of the world don't want to be questioned. Well, I can't speak for another project, but I know for a fact that Ripple puts out more transparency than anyone else that I can even think of about what's going on with the use of XRP or whether it's Ripple's business. Unbelievable, this guy.
Interview today. I want you to be clear. What I'm saying is they didn't feel compelled. None of these people feel compelled to answer I was looking at some of the things that you've been asking on your November 10th, and it's unbelievable how much money you could have saved people. Unbelievable what Squawk has done.
Here comes the shameless back patting here of righteousness.
But they don't feel compelled. I guess they, because you don't have subpoena power. I mean, you have asked everything. Anyone who listened to your questions would say, I got to get out of this.
I don't think they've asked anything or everything because they have avoided the free pass of Ethereum like it is poison. And the reality is the facts are not in dispute. Oh, it's just sickening. It really, really is. This doesn't get any better, but we're about to move on here. The FTX new CEO, John Ray, who has helped oversee some of the biggest bankruptcies ever, including Enron's, said he's never seen anything as bad as FTX. My goodness. That brings us to this. This is Patrick McHenry right here, Republican leader now at the Financial Services Committee. And what you're going to hear here is a clip. I'm going to set this up at 3 minutes. We're not going to play the whole thing. I know you're happy already. Just say it. I want you to listen to this clip, and then I'm going to show you what it reminds me of.
And have serious trading volume and liquidity behind it, and others that do not. There's quite a level gradient here in the digital asset space. Some are securities, masking as others. Some are commodities, masking as something else. Some are truly unique sets of technology, and others are complete frauds, as we found out with this FTX case. But the fact that we don't have a framework, both through regulation and law, for digital assets in the United States, if we have an exchange in the United States that's using money transmission licenses because they can't otherwise get regulatory clarity, that's not good for consumers. So it's the role of our regulators, and since they have failed, now Congress, to determine what is a digital asset, a means of exchange, and bring clarity to this space so we can bring legitimate money alongside of this and consumer protection alongside of this.
Congressman, one of the things that's been speculated.
Absolutely. And I tell you something, he's speaking obviously the obvious, right? We need to have laws. The regulators have failed here, right? All of that's accurate. Okay. But what I want to play now for you is this.
Like the amount of money I borrowed, like all of these other use cases need great payments. And so we just sort of laser focused in on payments. And I think the other thing that we did different from the very earliest days was everybody else, including us in the beginning, had this ground up strategy. Like if you don't have a strategy, your strategy is get everybody to use the thing that I think is great. And I think a lot of companies are still pursuing that. But I think there's also a sort of top down strategy. And that's kind of what the internet did. Like the internet got governments to adopt it. They got universities. They got sort of big players. And so we decided.
There we go. There we go. You got. We got to hear it again. Take a listen.
Else, including us in the beginning, had this ground up strategy. Like if you don't have a strategy, your strategy is get everybody to use the thing that I think is great. And I think a lot of companies are still pursuing that. But I think there's also a sort of top down strategy. And that's kind of what the internet did. Like the internet got governments to adopt it. They got universities. They got sort of big players.
And there you have it. Now, he goes on, in fairness, in full disclosure, and to talk about the frustration of trying to get the top down to adopt it, which is the biggest banks of the world, because they are sitting at the top, the king of the mountain, and they don't want to change the way that they make money, right? And that's obvious. But the reality here is he's talking about governments in the early days adopted the internet, universities, military. That's what's missing. And to go back to just very quickly here to Patrick McHenry, which I'm not going to play again, but he's saying we need laws. Well, what does having laws mean? Having laws for this means that the government has adopted this. And there's a framework for it, whether it's a commodity or money or whatever they call it, right? That's what's missing here. Now, I know that we're in the middle of turmoil and an absolute meltdown of crypto because of what I believe is a deliberate controlled demolition done by FTX. If I think about where we're going with the SEC versus Ripple case, I mean, it becomes so much bigger than just what is XRP. It's so much bigger. And now I know that I've known this. I know most people you hearing this know this, but it is just hitting me extra hard today because of the idea that governments, at least the US government, has not adopted blockchain and cryptocurrency or digital assets in the manner that it did the internet. And I believe with these kinds of events that keep continuing to cascade and happen here, causing so much damage to this space, we're going to have to see a moment where governments intervene. Where, just as Patrick McHenry said, they actually have to make laws here. And when they do, I think it's go time, baby. That's what I think. And I wanted to share this too. And shout out to Kim.com, who I follow and always appreciate. This guy's a great thinker, no doubt about it. He says, just in time after the FTX collapse, with demands by the Biden administration to regulate the crypto movement into oblivion, the Fed and the New York trials the new digital dollar. A mass surveillance, social credit, dictatorship dream. It's happening now, not in 5 years. This is what we talk about. We covered this, and I think he's nailing it here. I said, Kim.com, you probably won't see this message, but I just want to say you're a great thinker. I always appreciate your threads, posts. If you're ever inclined, it would be a privilege and an honor to have the opportunity to speak with you. And it really would. I do mean that. And I don't think for an instant that it is mutually exclusive that just now these pilots are happening with the Fed, the New York Fed, and the big global banks here with the digital dollar, when I also happen to believe that FTX was a deliberate money laundering scheme. Personally, I do feel that is a great possibility, meant to get its tentacles into as many major companies in this space so it could wreck it, for the purpose of the large legacy firms to come in and buy up this market at pennies on the dollar. You don't have to believe it, but I think it's true. XRP standard used by Combank. What do we have here, ladies and gentlemen? We'll begin migrating CB payments, central bank payments, to the ISO 20022 standard this month. Interesting thing in that Ripple, which uses XRP, Ripple network, was originally designed to comply with ISO. Let's take a look at this article here. It says here, largest financial conglomerate, Combank in Australia, has announced it will begin migrating cross-border payments to ISO 20022 standard this month, which is a messaging system and messaging language. Combank plans to complete the transition of all payments conducted by it to the advanced standard by November 2025. It says here, what makes this announcement interesting is that Ripple, which uses XRP in its operations and whose RippleNet network was originally designed to comply with ISO 20022, already meets the standard. We have to remember that we also know what? We know that Ripple and Stellar are the only two blockchain projects that are actually on the standard body committee for ISO 20022. Pretty damn interesting. It says here, Combank is not even the first major Australian bank to take steps towards the new interbank correspondence standard. It says National Australia Bank, known as NAB, began to adopt ISO 20022 through RippleNet. It says here, the fact that Ripple is involved in creating a stablecoin pegged to the Australian dollar can also be added to the news. If you remember, we did cover this back in June, that Novati Group, which is directly involved with the development of the AUDC and built on the XRP ledger, brought Ripple and Stellar into the project so that the companies would in turn help spread the use of the digital Australian dollar. You know, things are moving forward around the world, whether it's feels like it's stuck here or not. What I feel like is that the United States has a plan. It's been well in place, and it is in the back channels and behind the scenes. And they're using all the information gathered over the last handful of years with the introduction of stablecoins and CBDCs and all these things to make the best approach, design, all of these things for a digital dollar. I hope that the USD coin becomes the US retail digital dollar. I don't want to be attached to a direct CBDC because it would just lead to, I believe, many, many horrible things for citizens. I do believe that. However, Ripple says here, cross-border payment flows are estimated to reach $156 trillion in 2022. And we only got a month and a half left here, ladies and gentlemen. That is one heck of a number right there. And I'm reminded of what Naveen Gupta said. He said, we're here to make a dent in the universe. Companies can benefit from faster, cheaper, more efficient crypto-enabled payments across industries and use cases. We know it. They know it. And I can't play this clip here, but it's on my Twitter. But I will tell you, James Wallace, he doesn't say anything largely revealing and nothing that we don't know, but just that it's basically time for the public and private sector to work together. And that, to me, is the largest call to action for the governments and the private sector like Ripple to work together. And looking at the moment that we're in right now, if we get some kind of clarity, whether it be on stable coins or whether we have, any kind of regulatory clarity or ruling and clarity in this case for XRP to move forward, I say watch out. That is a day I am patiently waiting for. And I'm willing to do it, but it's not financial advice from me. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.